All right, you're welcome back. We're going to delve right in now to the fuel subsidy issue. I don't know if it's there's so many fuel subsidy, deregulation, price increase, well, everything around petroleum, I suppose. I have here with me Yemi Adamolekun, Executive Director, Enough is Enough Nigeria. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
And of course, Zeal Akarewe, you are a man of many parts.
Yes, I am.
Thanks for being here today, actually. Yemi, what is it exactly that just happened? Is it a price increase or is it deregulation? That's one thing that's confusing a lot of people. I mean, the Minister of State for Petroleum was on Channels Television, I think, during the week, and many people still didn't understand his explanation. What do you think happened?
I'm confused myself. But I think for me it's just a price increase, because if you're deregulating the sector, then you let people sell at whatever price. So they say you can sell up to 145, isn't it? Everybody notices that but everybody's selling it at 145. So you basically just gave them a price at which they can sell it at. If it was really deregulated, some people would choose to sell it at 130, 120, regardless of your cost and how many customers you want. Then that determines what your price is.
Yeah. We've always talked about it, about the fact that besides Lagos and Abuja, maybe, even in parts of Lagos and Abuja, petroleum has been sold way higher than whatever government benchmark there was. And I know that I have even bought over 145 in the past. Does this mark now only also affect these two states or regions or whatever it is, or is this a national mark?
It's like,
and how do they even enforce it? Like, I'm slightly confused too.
It's a terribly, terribly confusing situation, because, like you said, what we're sure about is that they've increased the price. Nobody's arguing about that. Now, it is certainly not a deregulation, because, like Yemi said, they have told everybody where to sell at. But if you look at the PPPRA pricing template, there are two key components that are variable that affect the output price. One is the international price of fuel, or which is highly correlated with crude, and the foreign exchange rate. Both are technically out of the control of the government. So at 145, it seems that the government has assumed a rate of 280, 285. And to be honest, I'm very certain that before they made that announcement, they had absolutely no discussion with anybody in the financial markets, not to talk of the central bank, because when we were talking about getting the interbank at 280, the interbank was short January last year. The interbank has not traded at all, at any level. So I don't really understand what he said. And if you cast your mind back 2-3 weeks ago, Kachiku said that he had fixed the foreign exchange problem for importation of petrol because he had tied IOCs to specific marketers. And those IOCs are mandated by the central bank to sell at no higher than 199. So if those IOCs are selling to the marketers at 199, but the template assumes 285, then there's a massive amount of miscommunication somewhere, massive.
So, but my problem now is how is this all supposed to work now? Okay, there's a mark now. We're supposed to. Are we still monitoring? Is PPPRA still working? What is government still involved? Is subsidy still being paid?
I think, if we take it a little bit away from fuel subsidy issue and pick it back on where Zeal left off, the government has basically said in some parts of our economy, the official exchange rate is 199, 200, as the case may be. In the oil and gas sector, it's 285. So let's say, for the sake of argument, Alhaji Dangote is a person that forever shows up on every list of allocations. So he gets his allocation at 200 naira. His cousin or brother or whoever owns MRS, oil and gas. So technically, even though he can't, but just think about it this way. He can technically get 200 naira from CBN for his manufacturing business and sell it to his brother at 270. He's made money. It's technically, it's almost, you've created an opportunity for that to exist. So that, for me, even beyond the fuel subsidy issue, I'm wondering how, as a country, we think it's okay to not deal with our forex issues, but say in this particular area, you guys go and source forex from wherever, and Nigerians will have to deal with it.
We'll come to you now about that, but I want to ask you what about timing?
Yeah.
Was this the right time to do it? Because people have argued, okay, this happened in 2012, some deregulation at least happened, then it was supposed to be 141, I think, at the time, and we rebelled, and there was the Occupy Nigeria protest, and why is everybody suddenly quiet? Only the NLC seems to be making some noise about trying to protest about this. Was the timing that great, or are we just not sure what to do about it?
One, I think people are confused. People are tired. And if you, as you said, if you've been buying it at 200 and then I suddenly say the price is 145, you'd be like, eh. I mean, really? But I think also, to be honest, the circumstances are a bit different. In 2012, there was a really clear sense that the Jonathan administration was very wasteful, and in their cutting costs, I mean, because the way this was presented was that we needed to cut costs. As a result, we could no longer afford for a subsidy, so we're just going to wake up one morning and yank it, even though there were ongoing discussions around what could be done and what could not be done.
Don't forget, they said the cabal was stealing money via fuel subsidy.
Exactly.
They stated they knew who the cabal was.
Exactly.
You were not willing to prosecute the cabal, but we, the people, should pay for the inefficiencies of the government.
And a cabal that was holding our government
exactly. But you don't touch the cabal, but we should pay for it.
Exactly.
So the messaging was very different.
Right. And so around that time, so there were a lot of forces around the time that made Nigerians just go, what is this?
So are you saying we protested, sorry to cut you short, we protested the corruption or the attitude of the government, not necessarily the deregulation?
Well, and let's say this, everybody, and as we've learned in the last 4 years, everybody has their reasons for protesting. For some, it's just a simple knee-jerk reaction. I'm paying more for fuel, I don't want to. So therefore, I will go on the street. For NLC, it's an ideological issue. They don't think the sector should be deregulated. So no matter what English anybody else says, NLC will protest because they don't believe in deregulation. For myself and for the organization that I run, we were very clear. Our sort of headline conversation was cut government waste, not for subsidy. And that was really around the idea of deal with your issues. You're saying your borders are porous, your cabal is holding you to ransom. Deal with that and don't make Nigerians suffer. So I think that narrative was very clear, at least for the organization I run and quite a number of people, and even for citizens at the time, that look, there are all these things you're blaming as, or you're pointing to as problems, but we are the ones suffering. Now, slightly different. I don't think they're not focusing on a cabal or anything. It's a foreign exchange issue, a poorly managed issue as well. And then secondly, this whole monetary policy that doesn't seem to exist. And people are not even sure. I mean, people are complaining, businesses are struggling, getting foreign exchange, importing things. Meanwhile, we're giving people 200 naira to go on holidays. So, I mean, it's a bit of a...
Yeah, I want to talk about the economy now, and in as simple terms as possible.
Don't worry,
please, Zeal.
very
so that we laymen can understand. Because people are not... It's confusing, like she said. A lot of this is confusing. But of course, it's going to definitely impact the economy. Things are going to probably start going up, besides just the fuel price. The price of fuel, sorry. With investors and everything is so confusing. Investors, what does this do for us in the short term?
In the short term, again, everything in Nigeria is the short term. We don't have anything. We don't have a medium term. Well, everything is
laughable, but
it's not laughable, but that's just what it is. You see, the economy is a system, and we need to treat it as so. The system has various parts. The financial market is a part of the economic system, but the financial market itself is a system, has its own rules and laws that you must respect. That you don't like the rules or the laws of gravity does not mean you can jump off a building. It has its rules and has its laws. And we have largely, because we don't understand the financial markets, there are very few operators outside the banking system that understand the in fact, outside the treasuries of the banking system that understand the financial market. Because there's such bad misunderstanding outside the professional sector, everybody tends to disregard it, and you think you can disregard those laws. Like in the proper markets, what you say in financial markets is regulated. If you start a rumor, you're sanctioned, you can lose your job. It's that regulated. So because we understand that communication is important. When the vice president, the head of the economic team, says that the interbank is at 285, and therefore you should source your foreign exchange independently. The black market was at 320 on Wednesday. On Friday it was at 365, just because of what he said. And that's how the markets work. Panic comes in. We would be in a horrible situation next week if one marketer, we use roughly a cargo of fuel a day, and a cargo of fuel today costs anywhere between $12 and $15 million. Imagine that amount going into a market in May, where there is little or no foreign exchange outside of NNPC and the central bank. You're going to have a blow up. It's going to have, and if you want to know what could happen, I said this on another station, look at Venezuela. The metrics.
Let's not look at Venezuela.
No, we need to look at Venezuela to know what not to do. What not to do. Venezuela and Nigeria, Venezuela makes 90-95% of all their foreign exchange from oil.
Yes.
They produce 2.5 million barrels of oil a day. 60% of
produces
two.
Exactly.
The 60% of government revenue is from the oil sector.
Nigeria?
60-70. The metrics are identical. They import 60 to 70% of all their consumer goods. We don't have that metric, but I imagine Nigeria is very close there. But they have only 25 million people, and see the crisis they're going through. We have 170. So if we go down that route, we're going to have a multiplication of what they are suffering. So we need to study them to see the mistakes they made. At some point, their exchange rate was 200 to 1, and the black market was at 1,000. I think it was in February, they finally deregulated petrol prices and increased it by 60 times. You know, so if we want to, let's look at a country who's done some things that are really silly and see that we are actually copying them, and let's stop our own silliness. We are treating so for example, you have the Minister of State for Petroleum more or less dictating exchange rates. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't work like that. It's not, it just doesn't work like that.
Yes, they're frustrated. Since the CBN governor refuses to
I'm willing to
the thing now, so they are helping. He needs help.
What should the Nigerian
I can't comment on that.
if you're a Nigerian now, and I mean, even for the middle class, which exists or doesn't exist, things are crazy. So I don't imagine where the majority of people who are poor, what will be happening now? What should we be looking at doing now? What are some things? Should we hit the streets? I'm not advocating that. Is this something we should be looking at? Is it? Are we? What should we do?
I think, I mean, anyway, NLC has said they're hitting the streets and they're quite free to do that. But I think for me personally, if I was going to hit the streets, it really wouldn't be about fuel subsidy. It would really be, I mean, Zila and I were having this conversation yesterday. It would really be about asking government really, what the heck are you doing with
what's really happening?
Exactly. With the
But
economy,
are they
really
talking? Because you talked about communication there.
Zero. So Jonathan
why is that still a
administration,
problem?
it's as if they don't learn. I don't understand. Jonathan administration was woeful with communication. This administration has taken it to another level. And it's just, and I don't understand why government officials find it we're not daft. Where's the camera? We're not stupid. We just want to understand what you're doing. I mean, how is this thing this complicated? Really? No town, okay, we have 6 ministers gallivanting across the country doing town hall meetings where they all sit, they talk. They pinpoint people who will ask them questions, and then they say they've done a town hall meeting. How does that engage? How does that deal with questions that citizens have? So I think even just addressing the issues and letting people understand. So you were saying that the Minister of State was on TV talking about what was going on. People were more confused. You're talking about the CBN not understanding or not being involved in our new exchange rate. So even if within government they're not talking to themselves, how are they going to be talking to Nigerians?